Good morning, everyone, and aloha. Welcome to Daifukuji's Nehan-e, or Nirvana Day Service, which commemorates the Buddha's passing. My name is Jiko Nakade, and I am your MC this morning. The officiant for this service is Reverend Jiko Nakade. Our great compassionate teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, was 80 years of age when he passed away on the 15th of February in the Sala Grove near the Bhadra River outside Kushinagar, India, near the border of Nepal.
By chanting the sutras and offering flowers, incense, candlelight, and food, we reflect upon the life and teachings of the Enlightened One and renew our determination to live each day following the Noble Eightfold Path. We take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Namu Kie Butsu, Namu Kie Ho, Namu Kie So. Namu Shakyamuni Butsu, Namu Shakyamuni Butsu, Namu Shakyamuni Butsu.
Please rise for the singing of the Vandana and Tisarana. The words are in your program. Please join Sensei in offering the 3 vows of Sampai. Oh, please be seated. Let us chant the Hanya Shingyo or Heart Sutra, which can be found in your program. We will be chanting in both Japanese and English.
Thus relieved all
observing this Nirvana Day Service, we have offered flowers, candlelight, food, and incense. We dedicate the merits of this service to our great teacher Shakyamuni Buddha on this occasion of his Parinirvana, to the compassionate Hawaii Kannon Bosatsu, Hosojoyo Daishi Dogen Zenji Taiso Josai Daishi Kesan Zenji Mahaprajapati, and the ever-guiding three treasures. Together we pray for the peace of our world, for the peace of our communities, for the well-being of all Daifukuji members and friends. May this good karma be extended to all relations, and may we realize the Buddha way together. Three bows, sampai.
Please rise for the singing of the Gatha Nirvana Day. The lyrics are in your program, or on page 214 in the Green Sutra and Gatha book. You may be seated. We will now have a Dharma message by Reverend Jiko.
dear Sangha, Ohayo gozaimasu. Thank you so much for gathering on this Nirvana Day, also known as Super Bowl Sunday. I'm so glad you're all here. That is in the afternoon so that you can be here. But in Japan, Nirvana Day, or this Parinirvana Day, is observed on the 15th of February. Thus the song said, you know, February 15th is Holy Nehan-e. And here in Hawaii, because services are held on Sundays, we choose a Sunday that is close to February 15th. Today I'd like to talk about what I've selected as the theme for this year. And I always select a little theme and I put it on our newsletter on the first page. And this year's theme is nurturing spiritual friendships. And I'd like to in particular talk about these Sanskrit and Pali words for spiritual friend, which I think is right here. So there is a Buddhist concept called Kalyana Mitata. It is the concept of spiritual friendship, also known as admirable friendship within the Buddhist community, within the Sangha. And it's applicable to both monastic and householder relationships. And so the Sanskrit, we call it, the Sanskrit word is the Kalyana Mitra. It means a spiritual friend, a virtuous friend, a good friend, a noble friend, an upright friend, a friend who practices the way of the Buddha together with us. So this is, everybody here are the Kalyana Mitra, or Kalyana Mitta in Pali, and in Japanese, Zen Chishiki means the good friend who has a lot of knowledge and wisdom and who helps to guide us along the path. And this is kind of a well-known story in Buddhist literature that one day the Buddha and his attendant monk Ananda were sitting alone on this hill together, overlooking the plains of the Ganges. Ananda had faithfully served the Buddha as his attendant for many, many years. And Ananda said to the Buddha, he said, "Dear Buddha, dear respected teacher, it seems to me that half of the spiritual life is good friendship, good companionship." And the Buddha said, "Oh, not so, Ananda, not so." And Ananda said, "What?" And the Buddha said, "You know, it is the entire spiritual life, Ananda. Having good friendship, you know, good Sangha members with which to live your lives, that's not half of the spiritual path. That's the entirety of the spiritual path. It's practicing together with others." So he said, when a monk has a good friend, a good companion, a good comrade, it's to be expected he will develop and cultivate the Noble Eightfold Path. So today I'd like to talk about spiritual friendship because I feel that that is my relationship with each one of you here. I consider you my spiritual friends, and the Buddha is my greatest spiritual friend, and he is your greatest spiritual friend and teacher. So the Buddha is someone very close to us. He didn't consider himself a god. You know, he was a teacher who outlined this Noble Eightfold Path, which would free us from that tangled net of suffering, sorrow, craving, attachment, excessive desire, anything that would pull us away. Instead of going in the direction of enlightenment, we would be going in the opposite direction. but it's the Noble Eightfold Path, the teachings of the Buddha that kind of bring us back to this path that is headed toward enlightenment, and that enlightenment is possible for each and every individual. We need to always remember that. So I'd like to see, so in Buddhism there are, of course, the three treasures, the three jewels. It's called the three gems. The Buddha, the Dharma, the teachings, and the Sangha. So this noble Sangha is equally important as the Buddha, as important as the teachings, because the spirit of the Buddha's teachings are kept alive through our practice, through the strong practice of each and every one of you. This is what keeps the Buddha's teachings eternal. The Buddha passed into this Parinirvana over almost 2,600 years ago. But his teachings are so alive today, all over the world, because of the community of Buddhists who have taken his teachings to heart and who are applying them in their daily lives. Our practice, of meditation, our practice of mindfulness, our practice of extending goodness out into our community and into our families. So it's a very noble path, and each one of you here is a bodhisattva on this noble path. And that is how our teacher, although he passed many years ago, always remains close to us, because wherever the Dharma is, the Buddha is. Wherever the Sangha is, the Buddha is kept alive strongly. So we are all together on this path. We're all the Kalyana Mittas, or Kalyana Mitras, or Zen Chishkis. We are all the good friends on this path, practicing together this noble path. But I'd like to ask you to think about your first spiritual friends, your first Kalyana Mittas. Who were they? And how did they help and encourage you? Yeah? Who were your first spiritual friends? I reflected upon this, and I thought at first of my mother and my father. And my mother and my father, for me, they modeled the way. Not so much in words, but just through their kind of humble deeds and humble way of living. I can still see their form in front of me, just how they embodied the teachings, how they practiced, how they lived their lives. And my father passed away when I was just 9, so my time with him was short. But he took time every morning to sit in front of the family altar, sat quietly, first thing in the morning and in the evening when he came home for dinner. He would light a stick of incense and just sit there quietly. And my mother, as many of you know, practiced Zazen. And she came to Zazen practice and maintained that during her life, and came with good friends like Jan sitting there, my mom's Kalyanamita in Zazen. And many of you here also practice together with my mother. So those of you who are here, you may not know it, but it's through how you live your life that you are conveying the teachings of the Buddha to your children. And then I thought about how I was in the 4th grade. I shared this story with Verna, I think it was, at Project Dana. And I said, when I was in the 4th grade, I really liked to read books. And one of my favorite books was a book called Hawaiian Heart. Hawaiian Heart was written by a local author. Her name was Ruth Tabra. And Ruth Tabra eventually became a minister in the Honganji tradition. She lived out in Kohala. She wrote the Red Shark, a book called The Red Shark, Hawaiian Heart, Hawaii. But I loved her book, Hawaiian Heart. And I remember my teacher in elementary school said, why don't you write her a letter and tell her how much you like her book. So that's what I did. I wrote her a letter and I told her how much I enjoyed this book, Hawaiian Heart. From that moment, Ruth Tabra became my good friend and my spiritual friend too, because she has a very strong Buddhist and did so much Buddhist study and wrote books on Buddhism and was very strong in the Jodo Shinshu, the Honganji tradition. But until the end of her life, Auntie Ruth has passed away, but I consider her one of my spiritual friends. And it all began because I sent her a letter when I was in the 4th grade, saying, I really like your book, Hawaiian Heart. And another spiritual friend, I think, and all of these people I think have led up to me being here today. I had a very dear friend in high school, at Konawaina High School. And among a lot of my friends, I became very close to my spirit. This one person I considered my spiritual friend. And his name is Eric. And Eric Matsumoto, he became the bishop of Honpa Honganji. I'm very proud of my spiritual friend, but I really am so thankful that as a teenager, I had a spiritual friend, somebody with whom I could talk about kind of things that were deep to me. You know, we talk a lot about Buddhism. We talk a lot about the teachings. So I thought, oh, how fortunate that in high school I had a friend with whom I already could share the Dharma. So I ask you, think about your good spiritual friends. Could be like me, your mom or dad, or someone you met somewhere who brought you to this path and who supports you in your practice. But today I consider myself most fortunate because I have a Sangha. I have so many spiritual friends with whom to share my life every day. So I am truly, truly grateful for you. So I'd like to conclude my talk by sharing with you the Discourse on Happiness. It's from a sutra called the Maha Mangala Sutta, Sutta Nipata 1. This is the Venerable Thich Nhat Hanh's translation. The Discourse on Happiness. I heard these words of the Buddha one time when the Lord was living in the vicinity of Savatthi at the Anathapindika monastery in the Jeta Grove. Late at night, a deva appeared whose light and beauty made the whole Jeta Grove shine radiantly. After paying respects to the Buddha, the deva asked him a question in the form of a verse. The deva said, many gods and men are eager to know what are the greatest blessings which bring about a peaceful and happy life. Please, Tathagata, please, Buddha, will you teach us? And this is the Buddha's answer. He said, not to be associated with the foolish ones, to live in the company of wise people, honoring those who are worth honoring. This is the greatest happiness. To live in a good environment, to have planted good seeds, and to realize that you are on the right path. This is the greatest happiness. To have a chance to learn and grow, to be skillful in your profession or craft, practicing the precepts and loving speech. This is the greatest happiness. To be able to serve and support your parents, to cherish your own family, to have a vocation that brings you joy. This is the greatest happiness. To live honestly, generous in giving, to offer support to relatives and friends, living a life of blameless conduct. This is the greatest happiness. To avoid unwholesome actions not caught by alcoholism or drugs, and to be diligent in doing good things. This is the greatest happiness. To be humble and polite in manner, to be grateful and content with a simple life, and not missing the occasion to learn the Dharma, This is the greatest happiness. To persevere and be open to change, to have regular contact with monks and nuns, and to fully participate in Dharma discussions, this is the greatest happiness. To live diligently and attentively, to perceive the noble truths, and to realize Nirvana, this is the greatest happiness. To live in the world with your heart undisturbed by the world, with all sorrows ended, dwelling in peace, this is the greatest happiness. For he or she who accomplishes this, unvanquished wherever he or she goes, always he is safe and happy. Happiness lives within oneself. From the Mahamangala Sutta, Sutta Nipata 1. I'd like to conclude my talk today by asking that we take a moment to send metta, or loving kindness, to all of those in the countries of Turkey and Syria who are so suffering greatly from the recent earthquake, who have lost over 28,000 of their people and who are hanging on. We send our metta, or loving kindness. May they be safe. May they have food and water. May they find comfort in their sorrow. Namo Kie Butsu, Namo Kie Ho, Namo Kie So. We take refuge in the Buddha. We take refuge in the Dharma. We take refuge in the Sangha.
Thank you very much, Reverend Jiko. Please rise for the singing of the Shomyo. The words are in your program or on page 19 in the Green Book.